But let's talk about, instead of endings, let's talk about new beginnings. And Fortnite had a very big week this week in terms of new developments. And if we go over here to this PC Gamer article, Fortnite launched what it's calling Chapter 2. And it was kind of interesting what they did. Basically, Fortnite is one of the most popular video games on the planet. On Twitch, it's one of the most viewed, games on there. And what they did was they actually did like a little event in true Fortnite fashion where they blew up the current map of Fortnite and created a black hole. And you basically just stared at this black hole for about 12, 24 hours. I don't know how long it was. And, you had Twitch streamers just streaming this black hole. It was just like, it was nothing. It was just like a pretty picture, and they had like a little mini game that you could play on it or whatever. But while they were basically kind of, I guess, transferring over to the new Fortnite, they just had this placeholder there that people were watching. And now Fortnite Chapter 2 is live, and it seems to be being received very well. Can you give us a rundown on the differences between what the original Fortnite was versus Chapter 2, and what do you think Epic's strategy is with rolling out this new version of the game and what they're going to be doing going forward?
Well, there's a couple of things. The one thing that I do want to bring up with this before we do that, this was a development. This was fantastic from a development perspective. The way this was handled, it wasn't just the game world. They had an entire event in game where if you were actually playing a game, you saw the world being attacked and blowing up. But even if you were in the menus, they had the menus start to disappear. They started to fly towards the black hole as it appeared. So you saw actually the entire outside part of the UI start to disappear into the black hole. And that, to me, was an amazing amount of development resources for something that for most people it would have been an afterthought, or they wouldn't have even thought of it at all. They would have just shut down the client. Just to be in the menu and actually have all of this happening, I have to give it up to them.
Yeah, like normally a game would have just been servers are down for maintenance, and you wouldn't have been able to log in or see anything until they were back up. But they actually did this in real time, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did all this in real time. It was 40 hours. It was down, and they broke Twitch. They literally, there were so many people watching this that it broke the Twitch website to the point where things weren't loading, things were failing, and I don't know if I've actually heard that before. One of the good things is a lot of the things from season 10 that people absolutely hated
Like the
appeared. Yeah, the mechs are gone. There's a full-on graphical upgrade. One of the coolest things I saw was for a new player after season 2 starts, it has this absolutely gorgeous cutscene that starts, and it as you start up the game, it has this gorgeous cutscene, and rather than it being like, okay, start, look for a game or something like that, it literally has it go from the cutscene to you diving into the game.
Wow.
There's no break at all. You jump out of the cutscene, jumps you out of the bus, and you're falling.
So the big news about Chapter 2 though is a whole new map. Like they totally redid the map, didn't they?
Oh yeah, but they've been slowly redoing the map every update. Like if you look at season 10 compared to season 1, the map has changed dramatically. So I expected it. This is much bigger than any one season. This is probably about the kind of change you'd see it over maybe 6 of the seasons. If you looked at 4 and you looked at 10, you might see this amount of difference.
But
But yeah,
they've added more rivers and water bodies of water to the map. So like you can use boats to traverse the map now. They've changed the loot drops so that I guess things are a little bit better on the edges of the map, and as you get more towards the center of the map, it's a little bit more sparse or something along those lines.
yeah. Overall, and the graphical upgrade. the graphical upgrade is fantastic.
Yeah, here's a look at the new map. So you can see these bodies of water that are now on here, and
It also looks a lot more forested than it originally was.
yeah, there's a lot more
Uh,
resources.
Hidden areas. This will be a lot better for the people who like the run and gun, hide, ambush type of scenario too.
Yeah, what's this out here? This island? Can you actually get to that island?
You know, I'm gonna have to look that up. I didn't even notice the island. I thought it was there for aesthetics.
It might be. I have no idea if you can actually go there. But it was funny. I was watching Ninja the other day, and like it was him and his core group that he games with, and they were just running around trying to explore the map and figure out where everything was now because everything's been changed. Different points of interest, uh, no lucrative loot zones, feel isolated. There's all types of interesting points of interest on this map that you basically have to relearn. Uh, and
What
they've
it
also
where
kind of
that
redone the loot system too, right? In the sense of what's available, they've kind of simplified it.
yeah,
I think,
and
yeah, I think this is let me see. Yeah, here we go. So this is the loot pool from chapter 2.
yeah,
A little bit easier. They've got assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, tactical shotguns. They included a healing tool, like a healing bazooka that if you shoot your teammate with it, you can heal them. So there's some healing mechanics in the game now. Yeah, bandage bazooka right here. And you can also pick up injured allies and enemies and move them around the map now. So like you can like if you have a teammate that's downed, you can get them to a safe place to heal them a little bit faster than if they were to crawl there and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting to see what they're including in this new chapter. But what do you think this means for the future of Fortnite? Do you think that how is this going to affect the competitive nature of it? Is it going to make it easier to stream or more interesting to watch on stream? What are your thoughts?
my thoughts are this with how similar most battle royales are. This is almost like them saying we're going to release a sequel to Fortnite. Uh, it's enough different that I think that it's going. I mean, if you look at Twitch right now, it was fourth or fifth place for the last couple of weeks, and then this happened. It's back to number one everywhere. It is definitely something, and I would say that I'm not a giant fan of Epic, but this is the type of thing you need to do to stay relevant, and especially um, if you're following the fad of the week. Fortnite has been the fad of the week for years. Done that by constantly changing things up, and I can't think of any other game on the planet that changes things up as rapidly and as often as they do.
Yeah, you mentioned before that the development team for this game is really incredible in the sense that I think they've got three. They must have 3 or 4 teams just constantly developing different phases of this game because they do update like pretty much monthly. What goes? I remember when what Apex Legends when Apex Legends launched, and they had the ping system and a bunch of other like resurrection mechanics and stuff like that. And everyone was like, "Oh, this works so well. Fortnite doesn't have this stuff." Within a month, Fortnite incorporated those elements into it, and the turnaround on that was just crazy
Oh
for
yeah,
that game.
and it was actually a feature, if I remember correctly, that they said that they didn't think that their code base could handle at one point in the past. So they must have actually the amount of code that they probably had to write to get something to work that was never planned, was not part of any of their systems. Uh, if I remember correctly, once you were out, you were pretty much out. Like they, uh, the idea of actually respawning, I don't think pretty much existed in their game.
Well, one of
Uh,
the benefits that Epic has is it's their own engine that they're using for that. Maybe you could fill us in from your engineering standpoint. Like, what are the advantages that Epic has in terms of using the Epic engine for a game like this?
It's actually probably far less than you'd expect. Uh, Mostly because I mean, look at uh, Anthem or any of the EA games. They also own Frostbite. The team that does Frostbite is a completely different team, and they actually have to reserve time with them. Fortnite is probably the same way.
Well,
Might
wasn't
be able to
it,
bring over somebody who is an expert in it, or you might be able to rush changes a little bit, but it's a completely separate team. The people are
my
working the engine.
my understanding was that the Frostbite engine that EA and uses for a lot of their games, it was originally developed for a first-person shooter. There wasn't a lot of documentation for it. There wasn't a lot of support for it. So when they wanted to do something new with it, they were kind of hamstring. It was a lot of trial and error. Epic, their engine has been around for a long time. It's very well documented. They have, these teams that are just on top of things because they were licensing it out to other games. I was just curious if the fact that they're using the Epic engine for Epic's own game, if that kind of gave them some type of advantage in these quick turnarounds.
It gives them a mild advantage in that they probably can push their own teams to move quicker or put their stuff to the top of the queue. Um, but significantly large team could probably almost push Epic just as far. I I don't know the internals of Epic. Perhaps they're more tightly wound than I know of most other teams. But from my own development, I've worked at large companies where to get another team to actually work on a ticket, they've got maybe a month or two of turnaround if it's not something that is mission critical or is an outage on our side, because they have their own priorities that have to be done first. If they're working on a new version of Unreal or something like that, you could see someone has a queue of like 30 different tickets they're working on, or 30 different items, or 10 new features for a small team of 4, and they've got to get those done by their own deadlines. So they can't just jump off and fix something else or make an addition to the current version that is not a game-breaking bug or something that is causing an actual monetary loss. Now, saying that, I have a feeling because of how much Apex scared them, considering it surpassed them on Twitch for a little while, and Fortnite is their big cash cow. There's a good chance that they dragged the entire team off for that feature, considering how vocal the community was that was required. Specifically, the respawn thing.
So, how do you think the Chapter 2 update is going to affect the esports landscape for Fortnite?
That I think this will put them again for another of a couple of years on top.
Really? Why is that?
Specifically because this reinvigorated the community, and there's a bit of momentum once someone gets as big as, like, World of Warcraft is a great example. Once they got so big, yeah, a lot of people were upset at them for a long period of time, but it took years for the fall off to start. Fortnite, people were getting annoyed at around season 8. It took a long time for the fall off to start.
So, do you think that Chapter 2 has any benefits to the competitive scene?
So the competitive scene, removing the mechs, the amount of people who just there were professional gamers who would just stop mid match because of the mechs, because something happened that was random. And
Like that?
sorry, I have someone riding Flamingo behind me.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. And remember, if you want to support the channel, please check us out on the socials. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew Kadish. You can also find our discussion group over on Facebook at eggfbgroup.com. That's eggfbgroup.com. Takes you right to our Facebook discussion group. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out my books over on Amazon.com. You can find them by going to kadishbooks.com. That's Kadish books.com. And as always, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you guys later.